In the world of computer security and hacking, there are many controversial figures. Hector Monsegur is among the most controversial. As a member of Anonymous and LulzSec, he participated in some of the world's most infamous hacks. However, when he was identified by the FBI, they threatened to send his adopted daughters to Child Protective Services. He turned informant and ultimately helped to prevent some 300 hacks against American targets. However, he still participated in some hacks against international ones. His actions on both sides of the law have earned him plenty of enemies, but also given him quite a story to tell. He's remained silent since his sentencing in May of this year, but came out to speak with Charlie Rose in an interview. Now we're going to take the opportunity to speak with him in a little bit more detail about some of those hacking exploits. Hector, thank you for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit how you got started? What was your first computer? What kind of system was it?
Well, the first computer I ever touched was like an old Apple. I forgot exactly what version it was. This little square box. We're talking about like early 90s.
Like a Mac Classic, maybe?
Yeah, like something like that. And I would just sit on it and play games and all of that. Obviously, I didn't have access to the internet yet. But it was like my foray into computers and going to school and playing Carmen Sandiego or whatever.
Yeah.
Eventually, in the mid 90s. I had a whole different lifestyle, right? I was in the streets, family, we had a whole different situation going on. And it was a point where my family, specifically my aunt, could afford to buy me like a really nice computer at the time. It was about 95, so it was a machine with Windows 95 on it, a Sony Vaio with like 133 megahertz, 16 megabytes of RAM, and like, Win modem, which was horrible. I find out later because I couldn't use Linux for some things. So basically after that, that's where I really started to get into getting online and finding like e-zines and all that by accident. I actually started by getting like online on AOL. Like AOL came pre-installed with all those computers that came out at the time.
Every computer back then.
Yeah, every computer had like AOL pre-installed. So it was like AOL 2.5, which some people might argue is one of the best versions of AOL ever. So I get online and I'm just whatever. My family all went to prison and I was like isolated by myself and like I felt alone. Everybody, I had no access to nobody in my family. We were able to afford some internet for a while. In that time frame that I was online, I was able to learn a couple of things, There was like these wearers channels, these rooms where you could just go and download stuff. And, I went on a downloading spree, right? Because, I'm a noob. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I could download all this stuff. I didn't even know what most of this stuff is. Then like I download a copy of, the Anarchist Cookbook, right? And inside there were some zines, some freaking and Unix articles alongside the original Anarchist Cookbook. And one of the articles that was inside the file, the zip file, was, they had a copy of the Hacker's Manifesto by The Mentor. And you could say that's what really changed my life. I've read this man's words. And on top of it, it says like the Hacker's Manifesto, Conscience of a Hacker, 1988. Like 2 days before I got arrested. Like it was or 2 days after I got arrested. And then he goes into the story, right, of what a hacker is. And this is my world's, and to my world's the beauty of the bald. And it was really cool.
What aspects of that really attracted you at that time?
Well, I mean, look, so I'm in New York City. I'm in the Lower East Side. We're talking about like, I had to live in the Lower East Side, New York City in the 80s, early to mid 90s. I dealt with a lot of racism from cops, right? Not from people, but from cops. So what I really liked about this manifesto was that he said, well, I don't judge you by what like what you say, what you look like. Rather, I don't judge you by what you look like. And that right there won me over. I'm like, all right, so I'm pretty sure this guy's like a white dude in Texas or something. And, he's basically saying, if you're a hacker, it doesn't matter if you're black, you're, Puerto Rican or whatever it is that you are. We're all alike. And there was one line that I loved in that, and it always like stood with me, and that was, yes, I'm a criminal. My crime is that of curiosity. That was awesome. And then, he ended it with, my crime is that of outsmarting you, something you will never forgive me for. And boom, that's it. So now here I am, I'm 12 years old, and I'm like, wow, what did I just read? You know, I saved it on my little desktop, and I went back to the AOL, and then there was a time where I started hanging around in certain private rooms. One of the rooms was like PR Elite. I'm talking about PR Elite back in the 90s, mid-90s. And there was a guy in there that was like, you know, for all you noobs and want to learn how to hack, go into this other private room. And then he asked one question that's still relevant to this day. How do you bypass a firewall? And that got me thinking. So now here I am, I'm totally new. I'm 12, almost 13. I'm like, how do I bypass a firewall? And as I learned later on in life, one of the best techniques of bypassing a firewall is a reverse shell. Why try to infiltrate the system directly? And this is relevant. This is why I'm telling you this little story. Why are you going to try to attack a system directly when you can have the system call you? You understand? Kind of similar to war games, you know, when Joshua calls this guy back, you know. So.
And so what was your first hack then, based on that?
My first hack was a, kind of ironic, a German wearer site. I don't know why. It's like a German wearer site. I just got access to the FTP and I just did something stupid. Like, hey, I did like the whole, you know, you gotta remember at that time, we're talking about the mid-90s, we're talking about like hacking for girlies was out when they hacked New York Times. And so when you go to NewYorkTimes.com, you see like, you know, this entire message but written in leet speak, right? So it was pretty awesome. So obviously I did the same thing. I did a leet speak defacement and, you know, the Germans like fixed it and pretty quickly.